I'm 108 years old, and I have one piece of advice that most people won't agree with. Never go to a nursing home, not because they're all bad, but because of what happens to you when you stop choosing your own life. My name is Ruth Callahan. I was born in 1918. I have lived through wars, loss, love, and more change than most people can imagine. I have buried friends, I have buried family. And I have watched something happen over and over again to people my age. Not suddenly, quietly, they disappear, not physically, emotionally, mentally, slowly they stop being themselves. And the world calls it aging, but it isn't. It's something else. It's what happens when your choices are taken away one decision at a time. I wasn't always this certain. There was a time when I almost made the same decision. At 97, after my husband passed, I was alone. The house felt too big, too quiet. My children were worried. Mom, it's not safe. What if you fall? What if something happens? They weren't wrong. They were afraid. And fear sounds a lot like love. At first, they showed me brochures. Clean rooms, friendly staff, organized schedules, places where everything was taken care of. Meals, medicine, routine. It looked comfortable, safe, predictable, and at my age, those things sound reasonable. But something inside me didn't feel right, not in my mind, in my chest, a quiet resistance. I couldn't explain it then, but I understand it now, because what they were offering me was not just care, it was control. Not in a cruel way, in a structured way. A life where everything is decided for you, when you wake up, what you eat, when you sleep, who you are allowed to be, and I realized something that changed everything. I had spent my entire life making choices, small ones, big ones, choices that built my life, and now at the end of it I was being asked to give that up. Not because I couldn't think, because I was old. And that's when I said something that shocked my children. No, not loudly, not angrily, just clearly. No. They thought I was being stubborn, they thought I didn't understand the risk, but I did. I understood it better than they did. Because I wasn't afraid of falling. I was afraid of something else, losing myself before I lost my life. And that is a fear most people don't talk about, but it's real, and once you feel it, you can't ignore it. But what happened next is what made me certain that I made the right decision, because I didn't just stay in my home, I changed the way I lived. And what I discovered is something most people never give themselves the chance to learn. Saying no was the easy part. Living with that decision was not, because once you refuse safety, you take responsibility for everything. At 97, I had two choices. Wait for life to happen to me or build a life that still belonged to me. So I started small. Very small. I created rules, not restrictions, freedom rules, the kind that keep you alive from the inside. Rule number 1. Move every day, not exercise, movement. Walking to the kitchen, standing in the garden, climbing stairs slowly, not because I had to, because I refused to become still. Because stillness turns into decline, and decline becomes identity. Rule number 2, make your own decisions, even the small ones. What to eat, when to sleep, what to wear, because when someone else starts deciding everything, you stop thinking. And when you stop thinking, you start disappearing. Rule number 3, stay useful, not busy. Useful, I cooked, I cleaned, I fixed small things, slowly, carefully, but I did them, because usefulness gives you purpose. And purpose keeps you alive, not physically, mentally, emotionally. And then something happened that I didn't expect. I started noticing others. People my age, friends, neighbors, people who had chosen what I refused. They went to nursing homes. At first, they were fine, comfortable, they told me. It's easier here. Everything is taken care of. And they were right. Everything was taken care of, except them. The first thing that changed was their voice, not the sound, the presence. They spoke less, not because they had nothing to say, because no one was really asking. The second thing was their choices. Gone, meals came on schedule, sleep came on schedule, life came on schedule, and slowly they adjusted. Because humans always adjust, even when it costs them something. Then came the third change, the hardest one to watch. They stopped trying, not all at once. Little by little, walking less, thinking less, caring less, until one day they looked the same, but they weren't. They were there, but not fully. And the world called it aging, but I knew better. It wasn't age, it was surrender. That's when I understood something deeply. The body follows the mind, and the mind follows control. If you give up control, your mind slows. And when your mind slows, your body follows. I went home that day and stood in my kitchen. The same kitchen my children thought was too dangerous, and I smiled because I was still choosing, still thinking, still living, not perfectly, but freely, and that freedom became my strength. Years passed, 98, 99, 100. People started asking me, "How are you still like this?" And I would tell them the same thing. I didn't stop living. Because most people don't realize this, but aging is not what ends your life. Stopping does. And what I discovered after 100 is something even more important. Because staying out of a nursing home was only the beginning. What matters more is what you choose to do with that freedom. And that is the part most people get wrong.
By the time I turned 100, people stopped giving me advice. They started asking for it. How are you still strong? How are you still thinking clearly? How are you still you? And I would smile. Because they were asking the wrong question. It's not about how I stayed strong. It's about what I refused to give up. Because the truth is, I am not special. I didn't discover some secret. I just held on to something most people slowly let go of, myself, not my body. That changes, not my age, that increases, but my ability to choose, to think, to decide, to live intentionally, that I protected at all costs. Because once you give that away, it is very hard to get it back. I have seen people younger than me lose themselves, not because they were weak, because they were comfortable, because they said, "It's easier this way, someone else will handle it." And step by step, they handed their life over, not to bad people, to systems, to routines, to places where everything is done for you, and slowly they disappeared. That is the truth no one likes to hear. Comfort can quietly destroy you, not instantly, gently, until you don't even realize what you've lost. I am 108 years old. I wake up slowly, I walk slowly. I think carefully, but I am still here, fully, because every day I make a decision, not a big one, a simple one. I will live today, not exist. Live, that means I move when I don't feel like it. I think when it's easier not to. I choose when it would be simpler to follow. And those small decisions build a life, even at 108. Now listen carefully, because this is the part people misunderstand. I am not saying never accept help. I am not saying never be cared for. There is no shame in needing support, but there is danger in giving up control completely. There is danger in letting your life be decided without your voice. Because once your voice disappears, so do you. And I refused to disappear, even if it meant risk, even if it meant difficulty, because I would rather struggle than slowly fade in a place where my life is no longer mine. If you remember one thing from me, let it be this. Growing old is not losing your life. It is being given one more chance to live it your way, and if you give that chance away, you may never get it back. I am 108 years old, and I have lived long enough to know this truth. It is not the years that keep you alive. It is the choices, so choose as long as you can. Because the moment you stop choosing is the moment you begin to disappear.